On Saturday, November 2nd, starting at noon, Kevin Williams is helping sick kids by playing video games. He needs your help to raise $1,000 for the CHIO Foundation. Donate at extra-life.org/participants/347875. The following podcast may contain immature content created by Danny Parkhill and Michael Walsh. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
By the way, this is the official you to both Michael Walsh and Adam Contant, who are 9/11 conspiracy theorist marks. And we're saying like, oh, Moxley's going to AEW. It's a work, bro. It's a work, man. It's a work. They're going to go out there. He's going to go out there and he's going to have a good time. And then afterwards, he's going to go back to WWE as John Moxley. And they're going to say, yeah, well, he's well-traveled now. No, that idea is stupid and you're wrong. We have got to be the dumbest asses on this earth. We had an entire day, essentially, to sit in the same room and record. Well, maybe not the entire day, but like we could have figured it out, right? So Mike and I went to Wonderland on Monday with our kids and our wives, and went and had a fantastic time. Fantastic weather. The only gripe I have is that I sunburned the back of my neck something fierce, and it's peeling now, and I look like something out of Freddy Krueger's. But I don't know, man. It's a little bit rough on the back of my neck, and I got to wrestle tomorrow. I'm gonna be it'll be done by the time you guys hear this, but I'm wrestling in Kingston tomorrow for Chinlock Wrestling, free show. I hope I saw you there. If not, buy your tickets for June 15th. But we had a great time, but we should have set aside time to record this episode, and we didn't. I was there. I was in his neck of the woods from like Sunday evening to about Tuesday mid-morning kind of thing. So we probably could have figured it out. Long story short, we didn't. Mike is not here. I am not Michael Walsh. I'm not Michael Walsh. You don't hear anything because the man who is Michael Walsh isn't here. He's tending to a sick wife and a sick boy. I think they were disgusted at the sheer sight of me on Monday, so they collectively their pants. And they're unfortunately a little bit under the weather. So, Mike, between that and work, this has been a little bit difficult. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm sitting here. It is Friday night, May 31st. It is 7:06 p.m. as I record this. Not that this was put together last minute, because I have been planning it all week. But it's been a week, man. It's been a busy, busy week. I basically started working again as soon as I got back from vacation, and I expected some things to happen. It didn't happen, but here we are. So it's not hastily thrown together. We're going to have a great show today. We're going to talk... we're going to leave our conversation... Mike and I were going to talk about Bret Hart this week. I think we're going to leave that because you don't want to hear me rattle on about, my personal opinions of Bret Hart. Those things are always best left to conversation. Easy for me to say. So we'll probably leave that for next week. We'll talk about Bret Hart and maybe some of the other Chinlock folks that will be at the Chinlock Wrestling show June 15th in Kingston, Ontario, Leon Center, chinlockwrestling.ca for more information there. But what is happening is I'm sitting here with my fine Kraken and Pepsi, excuse me. That's a good beverage right there. And a S-shaped cookie that my son gave me. It's the Italian treat. Hold on here. Yeah. All right. Got chocolate chips. It's got like a little lemon flavor to it. It's tremendous. I love it. So we're going to leave our Bret Hart conversation for now. But we're, excuse me. Oh my God. This is so chewy and delicious. That's what you said last night. We're going to talk about, AEW. We're going to talk about Double or Nothing. We're going to talk about, the quick effects that perhaps AEW and the Double or Nothing show had on has on the wrestling industry and may or may not have on WWE. And I want to talk a bit about John Moxley, and I got a bit of a surprise for you guys. I figured I'd steal one of Adam Conton's box of gimmicks and maybe do a watch along Wednesday. We'll get to that, but we'll get into the conversation first. So last caveat. Again, it's now 7:09, and my son is on the couch right now. I'm staring at him right now. He's probably going to smile at me and wave at me or something. Right, Sydney? Hey, buddy. Yeah, there he goes. He is on the couch watching the Lego movie. My wife is upstairs with our daughter, getting some well-deserved rest. So I figured I'd record downstairs. I'm currently in my kitchen. But if you guys hear the Lego movie in the background, that's what that's all about. If you hear my son yelling at me in the background, that's what that's all about. And you will probably hear me getting progressively drunker and drunker as we go further and further through this podcast. But it wouldn't be the lasting mark if it wasn't that way. You see that? He's already popping for the Lego movie. Haha, indeed. All right, man, so let's talk some AEW. Well, first of all, grab yourselves a beer. Grab yourselves a beverage of choice. Have a seat, because let's have a conversation about this. I want to hear your thoughts on this as well. Let's talk some Double or Nothing. I hope you guys checked out the show. It was a fantastic show. Some are saying that the Cody and Dustin Rhodes match is the best match of both men's careers. We'll get to my thoughts on that in a couple minutes there. But overall, a very tremendous show. We have the 21-man Casino Battle Royale. If you didn't know what went on there, so it was 5 men started in the ring, and then every 5 minutes they had 5 minutes or 3 minutes or something. They had another 5 men enter the ring based on. Oh Jesus! I almost vomited. Based on the suit of a card that they drew before the show, of course, kayfabe, right? And the Joker, the guy who drew the Joker, came out last. Hangman Adam Page was the lucky man who drew the Joker, and he won said Casino Battle Royale by last eliminating the Salt of the Earth MJF. Pretty good Battle Royale. It was a good introduction to a lot of the faces that we'll be seeing around AEW in the future. Guys like Sonny Kiss, like Luchasaurus, like MJF, who... that man needs to be pushed to the moon. Tons. It was a great introduction to AEW and a great introduction to the faces that run it. Being honest, and this is not meant as a slight to Adam Page, I would have gone with someone else winning the Rumble rather than Adam Page, only because I think you can. I think it's kind of. I don't want to say it's lazy booking. Like clearly they want Adam Page to be a big part of AEW's plans, which is all fine and good. I just think that maybe given someone else that because Hangman Adam Page is known to the audience and for the most part, and he's someone that doesn't necessarily need that Battle Royale win rub. Obviously, they had to change plans on the fly. Page was supposed to face Pac at this event. That didn't end up happening. We talked about that last week, a couple weeks back, I believe. But it didn't end up working out. I just feel like they could have done something different than just have him win the Battle Royal, and that gives him a shot at the title. Yeah, I don't know. And not, again, I hesitate to call it lazy booking because it wasn't that bad. But you know, that's that Adam Page wins it, and he goes on to the main event of All Out, I believe, to face the winner of the main event for the AEW World Championship. Second match, also on the pre-show, Sammy Guevara versus Kip Sabian. Again, strong, high-flying matchup. Showed what these guys are capable of. You know, put them out there, right? Put these guys, names and faces into the audience's mind. So I mean, it did its job. Kip Sabian got the win, which actually I was a little surprised at because I thought they were gonna, you know, kind of put Guevara as one of the well, I mean, I guess they still can, but one of the top light heavyweight guys for AEW. So I was a little surprised to see Kip Sabian go over, but I'm not angry about it. I mean, again, it worked out well, and then we'll see what happens. Then we got to the main show. We had SoCal Uncensored defeating SoCal Uncensored being Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky. God, this is good rum. shout out to the boys at Kraken, defeating the Strong Hearts. That's Chima, T-Hawk, and L. Lindemann. I don't know, man. Good match. It was a good. This was the opener for the actual show, so it was a good opener for the actual show. Got the crowd into it. Had a good mix of spots and getting themselves over and that kind of thing. It worked out well. SoCal Uncensored went over the Strong Hearts, and I'm looking forward to see more of the OWE guys as well. I guess that should be mentioned. OWE has a lot of talented folks in there that some I've heard of, most I have not, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. So, and it was a great introduction to OWE as well. The women's match, so it was scheduled as a triple threat. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, which is a fantastic gimmick, defeated Nyla Rose, the what she called herself, the native warrior or something like that. Nyla Rose and All Smiles Kylie Ray, Smiley Kylie Ray, I believe it is. It was supposed to be a triple threat, but surprise number one, they decided to bring out Awesome Kong, formerly known as Karma in WWE. She came in and made it a fatal four-way match. Match did its job. I felt, again, I say this as a wrestling fan, I felt that they made it a little too, they segregated it a lot. It was sort of like, okay, so now Nyla Rose and Awesome Kong are going to have their spot. Okay, they're out. Now it's going to be Baker and Kylie Ray. Okay, Kylie Ray powders out. Now you're going to have Nyla Rose and Britt Baker, so on and so forth. That felt like the theme of the match, right? To me, not that it was a bad thing. That's a nitpick, but if we're nitpicking, we're nitpicking. Britt Baker went over, defeating, I believe she pinned Kylie Ray, I think. But I mean, again, like this, if this pay-per-view is about introducing the characters and the faces that will be a part of AEW, they're doing a great job so far, because that's what this match did. Introduced everybody, got, kind of showed what everybody could do. Commentary put them over as the ladies of the future, and it went well. It got everybody over, so I can't complain too much. Best Friends defeated Angelico and Jack Evans. I'm a big fan of all four of these guys. They delivered a pretty good match. They did their job out there. I really like the double team spots that Angelico and Jack Evans are putting out there. I'm really interested to see what they do with those two guys. Not that the Best Friends are chopped liver, because they aren't, but they're Angelico and Jack Evans are gonna be up. They're the high flyers of the highest magnitude, like El Dandy. So I mean, if I'm them, I put them with something like the Young Bucks, and maybe do something like that. Maybe have a quick feud there. By feuds, and that's another thing. I really hope they start doing feuds as opposed to one-off matches in AEW, but that's another story for another time. Best Friends went over. I think it was Beretta pinned Jack Evans. Beretta's a beast, by the way. That man is ripped to shreds. Yeah, I mean, good match. Solid tag team match. And now, so I've been saying, I know I haven't been able to say much about the matches so far. Like, oh yeah, they're good. Got everybody over. It's because, not that the first 4 or 5 matches were terrible or anything. Not that they were matches. But the last 4 matches, in my mind, were what made the show. It kind of... It turned the show from, a pretty good, hey, I'm having fun, there's a good show, these guys are great, into, okay, so now we're talking about something that could be a future competitor, right? And that started with the 6-woman tag team match. I'm going to botch the shit out of these names, so I apologize in advance. Hikaru Shida, Riho Abe, and Ryo Mizunami. And again, I'll be straight, I haven't heard of any of those guys. Versus the team of Emi Sakura, Yuka Sakazaki, and one of my favorite women's wrestlers of all time, Asha Kong. That was the big selling point for me with this. I love me some Asha Kong. She's been a mainstay in professional wrestling for 20 years, 25 years, put it this way, they kept mentioning her feud with Bull Nakano, and Bull Nakano's been out of wrestling for like 20 years. So she's been around a very long time. I got exactly what I was hoping for out of this match in that... there you are. Here, what you got to say, buddy?
Nothing.
You got nothing to say? You want to talk about the Young Bucks?
No.
What do you think about Cody Runnels? Cody Rhodes. I just used a shoot name. That's terrible of me. What do you think about Cody?
I don't know.
You don't know. All right. So how about you go watch the Lego Movie?
And I want bubble water.
Okay. Well, I'm on a podcast right now. I'll get you bubble water soon. Okay.
I can get myself.
Okay. You go ahead. All right. There's the interruption from my son I was talking about. What I was hoping from this match is exactly what I got, and I was hoping for them to show a North American audience that might not necessarily be familiar with Joshi, Joshi being Japanese women's wrestling. I was hoping that they would show a North American audience what that's about, and that's exactly what we got. It was hard hitting. It was technical when it needed to be. Excuse me. It got, they were able to show their characters in the ring without speaking and without the audience knowing at all basically who any of these people were. It worked well on all fronts in my opinion. Again, I love me some Aja Kong, so to me that she's the MVP. But again, great match. I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope to see more from all 6 of these women and more as we go forward. Can you stop dropping stuff, please? Good Lord, you're making this podcast into something more unprofessional than when Mike Walsh is at the helm. Shut the fridge too, will you? Yeah, that's my boy. That brings us to what, in my opinion, this match of the night, which was Cody Rhodes, not Cody Runnels, Cody Rhodes versus his brother Dustin Rhodes. So let me get this out of the way. You guys know me at this point. You know that I'm a mark for blood, right? You know, not that I'm a mark for blood. I'm a mark for blood when it's used in the right sense, right? I'm a fan of it when it's used as part of telling a story. Just like I'm a fan of hardcore stuff. Just like I'm a fan of any other real aspect of professional wrestling. I think pretty much anything, when used properly, can be a big difference in a match. Dustin Rhodes bled all over the place in this match, and to me, it's a great example of how to use blood in a pro wrestling match. I mean, I don't know what more to say about that. I mean, it got everything over a little bit more, right? It made the match feel that much more dire, right? Because the whole storyline with this has been Cody wanting to put the other down, right? Like, my brother's had a long career, but his time is over, and he's a dog that wants to die. That to me was the line from the promo package that I think needed to be the big hook. Like, when you see a dog that's walking around and it's going to die and it wants to die, you just have to put it out of its misery. And I thought that was a fantastic way of describing this match. And that's the way that they built the match. They built it as, okay, Dustin Rhodes, he's been around since Christ was a cowboy. Buy our t-shirt, WrestleMedia.ca. We don't have a t-shirt yet, but maybe talk to Satchel Ass and he'll make one for us. Dustin Rhodes has been around a long time, but Cody is younger. He's arguably stronger. He's faster. So how is Dustin Rhodes going to fight out of this? And for a long time, he didn't. And then, near the end, they started showing, okay, well, maybe he's got some life left in him. And Cody did go over. In the end, Cody did go over, but fantastic match. I really like what they did afterwards. Basically putting, they're where Cody said, okay, well, I've signed a match against the Young Bucks, and I was told to pick a partner of my choosing. I don't want a partner. I don't want a friend. I need my big brother. And I thought that was a great promo, and it was a great way to put the cap on that feud and go on with the next one, right? See what the Rhodes brothers can do on the indies when they don't have, see, again, I don't want to all over WWE and say that they had a whole bunch of barriers when they teamed up last time. but they kind of did. So I'm excited to see what they can do now that there are less barriers. Penultimate match, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson defeated the Lucha Brothers. That spot where there was a spot where they were going Matt Jackson and Phoenix were fighting on the outside of the ring, whatever. Phoenix hits Matt Jackson with a kick. Pentagon friggin' steps on, uses Phoenix as like a trampoline, like a jump off point kind of thing. Jumps off of him and gives Matt a Canadian Destroyer on the apron to a huge pop. And then immediately afterwards, Phoenix jumps over the top rope and does the same to Nick, Canadian Destroyer over the top. That was nuts. That was an insane spot. If they were going to put Lucha Brothers over, I would say that should be the finish. That was not the finish. They did the Young Bucks went over to the old Meltzer driver. Very good match. It was now and again. I don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful or mean here. It was a very Young Bucks match, and by that I mean, I guess the negative term for it would be a spot fest. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's how the Young Bucks make their money, quite frankly. So, I mean, it worked very well for them. And it was a very good match. For what it was a great match. Again, it kind of showed everybody what they can expect from AEW. So, I don't have much more to say about it. It was very good. The main event. Winner faces Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. Chris Jericho defeats Kenny Omega. First of all, I gotta shout out Chris Jericho's entrance, where they showed Lionheart, who I'm 90% sure was Jungle Boy, but they showed Lionheart was Chris Jericho in quotes, and they went through his career basically, right? They showed all the different forms of Chris Jericho before, of course, the current Chris Jericho with his fedora and the spiky jacket and all that shit came out. Man, again, we've said this before, but I gotta say it again for the record. I don't think there's anyone who has reinvented himself better over the course of his career multiple times than Chris Jericho. He's done every character he's ever had in front of him excellently, and this continues to be the case with his new, I call it the thank you gimmick, because all he wants is a thank you. Just say thank you and he'll turn babyface again. Jericho goes over Omega. Good match. Couple of botches in there, which is okay. I'm the botch king, so I'm not one to start talking about how people should botch less. Yeah, I mean, it was a good match. I'm looking forward to seeing the Adam Page versus Chris Jericho match for the AEW World Championship, but the big talk of wrestling didn't happen in that match. The big talk of wrestling happened after that match. Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose, comes on down to the ring, kicks Chris Jericho in the gut, gives him I don't know if they're going to call it dirty deeds, but whatever they're going to call it, dirty deeds. Does the same to the referee, tries to do the same to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega doesn't have that. They go fighting outside of the ring, all through the crowd, yada, yada, yada. They end up on the stage, on the poker chips. Again, Jon Moxley hits his dirty deeds, and then hits an FU off the stage through, I don't know, I guess it was meant to be another table or something. It kind of broke weird, but whatever. Jon Moxley is in AEW. And that's huge. That's huge for AEW, and that's huge for that's huge for the wrestling industry. I think it's a big deal because I think it's been so long since anyone has been looked at as proper competition for WWE. And I'm talking 20 years, right? Because let's face it, in 99, 2000, WCW wasn't exactly stiff competition for WWF. It was, 97, 98 when, it was starting to kind of turn downhill. So this is the first time in a very long time that, that anybody could even consider that WWE has an alternative and WWE has competition. So that's a big statement to make from Jon Moxley. And speaking of big statements to make, that leads me to the next point. I hope you guys, if you listen to other podcasts other than WrestleMedia, which you should listen to all the WrestleMedia podcasts before you listen to anything else, WrestleMedia.ca/Patreon. If you listen to Talk Is Jericho this week, which a lot of people have, because it's I think it's now like number 9 most rated sports podcast as I record this, something like that. John Moxley made an appearance on Chris Jericho's show, Talk Is Jericho. Spoiler alert, if you haven't heard it, he does not have Gesundheit. Oh, I'm good. I think I just sneezed like out my brains. Excuse me, it needs another drink. One moment. Kind of like this free flow gimmick. Kind of sounds good. It's going to be less for me to edit. You know, it's going to Adam off more. So, I mean, mission accomplished. John Moxley on Talk Is Jericho did not have too many nice things to say about the creative process in WWE. Specifically, kind of called out Vince McMahon. I mean, there's no real two ways about it. He kind of said, well, the main reason I left was Vince, because he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of creative, and it's gone downhill. Very, very interesting interview if you haven't heard it, but it's a good way for it's another good way for Moxley to get his name out there more. And I'm talking John Moxley, not Dean Ambrose, because the thing is, not a whole lot of WWE fans know who John Moxley is. By the way, this is the official you to both Michael Walsh and Adam Contant, who are 9/11 conspiracy theorist marks, and we're saying like, oh, Moxley's going to AEW. It's a work, bro. It's a work, man. It's a work. They're gonna go out there. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna have a good time, and then afterwards, he's gonna go back to WWE as John Moxley, and they're gonna say, yeah, well, he's well traveled now. No, that idea is f***ing stupid, and you're wrong. That's right. Even I hate myself after that one. Yes, but a very, very interesting interview. Highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already, after you listen to all of our podcasts, of course. But it raises John Moxley's profile, and it raises AEW's profile by association. Because now he's selling everything. Now he's selling himself, and he's selling AEW as, this is the alternative. If you're sick and tired of what's going on in WWE, if you're not happy with their creative, if you're not happy with their storylines, here's the alternative. Here's what you need to do. We got the talent. We got the money. We got the creative. We're set. Right? So, I mean, I think it's a big deal. Yeah, that's. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of all the news that's fit to print from me. Hold on. No, that's I want to mention one more thing, I think. Yes. I came across something, and I wanted to hear your opinions on it, and I wanted to hear Mike's opinion on it, but since he's a piece of garbage, there it is. Someone, I was reading online the other day on the old dirt sheets. Someone asked if Ted Turner should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And there were a lot of mixed reactions, but my reaction is hell yes. Ted Turner did a lot for professional wrestling in the 80s and 90s, and really, WCW aside, he was really, to date, the only person to ever challenge Vince McMahon, in terms of ratings and in terms of creativeness, right? Out of that, we got what, in my opinion, is the greatest era of wrestling of all time. So I think that deserves to be recognized. I think if you're inducting either people that don't matter and have nothing to do with pro wrestling, or if you're inducting people that, that have been in competing promotions or haven't even wrestled in the United States to begin with, I think it's very important if you're going to go inducting people that have to do with the history of professional wrestling, and that's the key point here, the history of professional wrestling. I think Ted Turner absolutely needs to be a part of the Hall of Fame. And I hope to see it soon. There are a couple names, and it really got me thinking about it, because I've never actually thought about Ted Turner in the Hall of Fame, but it makes perfect sense. There are only a couple of names left that really, to me, should 100% have been inducted already, and they haven't. I'm going to add Ted Turner to that list. I'm going to make it 3. Other 2, if you're wondering, are Owen Hart, which, that dead horse has been beaten successfully, or Rick Martel. I have no idea why Rick Martel is in the Hall of Fame. That guy was a wrestling genius and absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. I have no idea why he's not, but that's another story for another day.
Hey, this is a commercial for patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where you can get early access to episodes of your favorite WrestleMedia shows, get full uncut and uncensored versions of your favorite shows, and more. Don't want to hear this commercial on your podcast anymore? Sign up at our main event tier and get these episodes ad-free. Want to hear your own commercial here instead of ours? We've got tiers for that too. Visit patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and join the WrestleMedia revolution today.
Speaking of other stories for other days, we're almost at the half-hour mark. So here's what we're gonna do. I went hunting this morning while preparing for this show, and I wanted to do a Watch Along Wednesday. Right, it's been a long time since we've had a Watch Along Wednesday, and I figured, you know what, rather than hear me ramble on about Bret Hart on my own or whatever other crap we got going on in the wrestling world today, let's watch a match together. As I said, crack a beer. I'm halfway through this rum and cola and this S-shaped cookie. I went and I found, because Jon Moxley is all the talk of the town these days, I wanted everybody who didn't know about Jon Moxley's deathmatch side, I want to do a little something like that. So if you're listening to the free version of this podcast, we're gonna do a Watch Along Wednesday, but you can only access that if you are a Patreon subscriber. Here, you hear that? Walk this way. My son is playing the guitar. You can only access that with the full Patreon approved version. So if you haven't yet, put a few f***its in our bucket over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca. There we are. That's it. Or go to WrestleMedia.ca and you'll see links to our Patreon there as well. You can do that. And join me for Watch Along Wednesday. We're going to watch a Jon Moxley death match. So to our Patreon, to our non-Patreon subscribers, hugs and kisses. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope I didn't bore you out of your tree. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. For our Patreon subscribers, hang in there, and I'll be right back with some Jon Moxley.
This has been a presentation of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything. Here's what you're missing out on right now over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.
All the respect I had for you has been dwindling over the years. I think it's finally gone. We won't be discussing Jim Cornette very much on this podcast anymore. My second of the week is my co-host, Danny Parkhill.
Want more? Sign up now at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.